Hello everyone. Today we're continuing the development of our combat controller by adding music. To get started, first we need to import some music into our project. I have 3 that I have already. The first is going to be for the level music, the second is going to be our combat loop, and the third is a victory fair to play when the character wins combat. Now, if you haven't worked with these types of files, all you have to do is just take an MP3 and drag it into the content drawer. All the settings from the files can be made by double-clicking on them. And you can set the volume if it's too high normally, and make sure that you set it to looping if you want the track to loop. We're not going to get too into the weeds about the audio files, but we are going to be making a music player if you don't already have one. So in the content drawer, right-click, select Blueprint class, and we'll make a new actor. And we'll call it BP_music player. And to get the information about what tracks to play from our combat controller to the music player, we're going to make an interface. If you don't have an interaction interface, we can just make one now. So search for interface, get the Blueprint interface, and we'll name it BPI_interact. And then one more file we'll make is an enumeration file. And this is going to be our music type. First, with the enumeration, we'll just add 2. The first one is going to be level, and the second is going to be combat. And if you have more things like shop music or individual NPCs that have their own theme songs, you can add more enumerators. Otherwise, we're just going to be worrying about switching between these 2 for this tutorial. Once we have that, we'll open up the interact. And the first function that we make is going to be called play music. It will have 2 inputs. The first is going to be our music track. The variable type is going to be sound to base. So we'll get the object reference for that. And the next is going to be our music type. And that type is going to be the enumeration that we just made. So E, music type. Then we'll add a second function, and we're going to just have this be an event that we can call from any blueprint to return to our level music, and we'll name it as such. Then we can close down the interface, and we'll open up our music player. So we're going to add 2 audio components here. This first one is going to be dedicated to the level audio. And the other is just going to be called other audio. In our event graph, we'll get our begin play. And we can start by playing the level music because this blueprint is going to be put inside of the levels. So when the level's loaded, after the music player is loaded, we're going to set sound for our level audio. And we'll take the new sound and promote that to a variable. And we'll call it level music. Click on the eye to make it instance editable and expose it on spawn. And then we'll take our level audio and we'll get a nice fade in. We'll have a fade duration of 2 and keep everything as is. Then we'll take our music player and drag it into the map. You can keep it with all the other components such as the sky arrays, the volumetric lighting, post-process volume and such, but I'm just going to put it over on the side of the map. And then our level music, we'll choose whatever you want to have as your level music. So now when we begin play, it will play the audio. Just going to lower it a bit on the audio file itself. maybe down to half volume. And we could go through switching the audio tracks by just having whatever actor send over the music, setting it as the sound and fading in while fading out the previous track. However, I want to go a bit further than that. When we have combat start, this blueprint is going to be designed so then we pause the level audio, we fade it out, start bringing in the combat music. When combat is finished, we'll either fade out if the player flees combat, or if we succeed, we'll play the victory fare, and then we'll fade back in the level audio right where it paused. So then we're not constantly restarting the audio track every time. So we're going to set up 2 events to be able to pause and play our level track. The first is just going to be called pause level audio. And the second is going to be resume level audio. So we'll get our level audio component. And you might think that we need to fade this out, but I don't know if it's a bug, but it seems to be that whenever you fade out, even if you do pause the audio, once the audio is completely zeroed out, the component deactivates, and then we'll have to play it again. So instead of fading out, we're going to adjust the volume. And we'll say that over 2 seconds, we adjust the volume to 0.01. Then we'll get a delay because this is asynchronous. As soon as this fires, it will fire off whatever is after it without waiting. So we'll say after 1.9 seconds, we'll take our level audio again, and we'll pause it. Then when we resume, we'll copy the pause and uncheck pause, so then we can play it again. Then we'll take our level audio, and then we'll start fading it in by adjusting the volume. Again, over 2 seconds, and the volume level will be 1. So now we'll get our interface. So we go to class settings, and under implemented interfaces, we'll add our interact. And we'll do the same thing in the combat controller. In our combat controller, we'll make a custom event. This is going to be to start our combat music. We're going to get a new variable, and this is going to be a variable to our music player. The variable type is going to be BP_music player. We'll make sure that it's instance editable and expose on spawn. You may have more than one music player, especially if you're streaming. So we just want to make sure that we pick the right one. We only have one, so we could just choose the only one that's going to come up in that list. Then off of our music player, we're going to call play music. Make sure you get the one from BPI interact. Then we're going to make a new variable that's going to be our combat music. And that's going to be of type sound base. And as before, we'll make sure that we can add it from the editor. And we'll select what music type. Since this is combat, we'll obviously choose that. So now we'll start the combat music when we start combat. So up at our start and end combat, after we set our spawn count, we can call start combat music. Then back at our music player, we'll get the interface function to play music. Off the music type, we're going to get a switch on music type. If we are starting the combat loop, we're going to pause our level audio. Then we're going to take this music track and we're going to promote this to the active track. So we'll make a new variable and we'll call it that. Then from that, we'll get a create 2D sound. Then we'll set our other audio to be the 2D sound. And then we'll fade in. Set the fade duration to 2 and leave that fade value. Then off of our level, we can get our resume level audio. Because this is never going to be called first. However, we do need to check to see if our other audio is valid before we try to fade it out. So we'll get a validated get. And then fade out. This fade out duration we'll say is 2 seconds as well. So now we begin, we start combat, and it fades back to our audio for combat. Now we don't have a way to get it from combat back to our level, so we're going to make another event here in our music player. And that's going to be our return to level music interface. And we're just going to call our play music function. We'll get the level audio for our music track and we'll keep it at level. So now we just need to call this event from our combat controller. So when we end combat, when it's reset, we'll get our music player and then get return to level music. Okay, and it resumes exactly where it left off. Now, we do need to make sure that it can finish getting to the point of pausing before we switch the audio. Otherwise, it might not unpause, but you're not going to be in combat for half a second anyway, so it's not really something that we need to plan for. Now, lastly, we're going to make one last event that is going to start our victory music, which will be a custom event in our combat controller. And we'll call it play victory music. So whatever's going on in our music player, we're going to stop it. So we'll get our music player. We can call stop for our other audio. Then we can duplicate our combat music and rename it victory music. Making sure that you change it in the editor. take our victory music. We'll play sound 2D. Because this is only going to be a few seconds, we can get the duration and plug that directly into a delay. So then we wait until it's done. Then we get our music player again. And then we will call return to level music. Because at this point, combat is over anyway. So there's not much else to do. And then off of our branch for cleared, if we did clear it, then we'll call the event. And we didn't do this last time because we didn't really need to. At the component end overlap, when we reset combat, this can trigger more than once with the way that this is set up. We won't start combat, but it can still reset combat. So we're just going to get a check here to see if we have not cleared. And combine that with the check for our other character. And also, because we may not be playing other audio, I'm just going to make sure that's true by just getting is valid. And that's all there is to do to switch between level and combat music. I'm sure working on music was a bit out of left field, but I'm going to be continuously adding more to this project as time goes on. So if you like this series so far, think about subscribing or toggling notifications so you don't miss future videos. Shoutouts to the pillars of the community, Winterberry Shark, Francesco Pota, NK Panic, and to everyone else who gives me the motivation to make these projects. Remember to like this video if you did in fact like the video, and if you didn't like the video, just give a thumbs up anyway, who cares? But that's all I've got for now, so thank you all for watching, and I hope you've been inspired.